What's up guys, the Lazy Gold Maker here with another video. Today we're going to take a look at what you can invest in if you want to make some gold in the Wrath pre-patch. So, investing for the future, buying something that's going to go up in value. This is a big dream for many people who get into gold making. And expansion launches are a prime opportunity for that. To find items that are going to increase in value with a patch or an expansion launch, we need to look at items that are in the game and that will still be useful. They will either be more useful, they will be harder to obtain, or more people will need them for a period of time. So either there's going to be less available, so lower supply, or more people will want them, or people will need are willing to pay more for them, which would lead to higher prices due to higher demand. Now, generally speaking, most gold is always spent on increasing the power of your character, and people are absolutely most interested in spending gold on their mains. So that means that the top sellers in TBC Classic right now, it's going to be epic gems, endgame consumables, stuff like that. And the materials needed for endgame TBC gear, so such as primals, they might be losing value. But there are some big effects coming in. Number one, Death Knights, Wrath Classic, new class coming out with the pre-patch. Do you think there's going to be a lot of people rolling Death Knights on pre-patch day? Take a guess. Guarantee you there's going to be a ton of them. I'm one of them. I'm going to play a Death Knight for Wrath. I love that class. And these players are going to be in the market for a couple of things. They're going to want some bags, potentially. They might want some consumables for leveling. They might want some gear. And once they're level 70, they'll probably want to level some professions to profession level 375 to be ready for Wrath and be ready to absolutely crank in whatever endgame content they're interested in. So we could buy to cater to that, obviously. There's another big effect. A lot of players will be changing their professions for Wrath outside of Death Knight rerollers. The optimal profession setup in Wrath is not the same as it was in TBC in general. So there's a little bit of difference from class to class. Most from the videos that I've seen, most people are going to prefer to be Jewelcrafter engineering, Jewelcrafting tailoring for some of the casters. Those are the top two combos by a very significant margin. Engineering is just absolutely fantastic at Wrath. So much utility, so much damage output. The nitro boosts are just fantastic. Obviously, we don't know if they're going to make profession changes. They did do changes to leatherworking for TBC Wrath, so we might see some changes. But right now, Jewelcrafting engineering are looking like the top. So then, we're going to take a look at the materials needed to level Jewelcrafting and engineering. Now, I'm going to focus on the classic era materials. Why is that? Because for 300 to 375 using TBC materials, there's a lot of TBC materials available. And during the pre-patch, a lot of players will probably be cleaning out their bags, selling off their stock to get ready. So I doubt that that's going to be a bottleneck. But if you're looking at the classic materials, that's very interesting. So what I've done is I've gone through the profession guides, profession leveling guides on wowprofessions.com. This is the top Google results. So this is what most people are going to be buying. If you Google TBC engineering leveling, you're going to get to wowprofessions.com. I've taken all the materials, written down how many you needed them. Then I went through my auction house on my realm, Earthshaker, and I wrote down all the quantities, how many are currently available for sale for each of these items. And then we can just divide how many you need by how many is actually available in the auction house. And we get some pretty interesting results. So for jewel crafting, there are a couple of the low-level gems, Shadow Gem, Mossa Gates. There's not enough of these to even level a single crafter to skill level 300. Not a single crafter. And then you have Aquamarine's Flask of Mojo, where there's barely enough for one. So there are some very significant bottlenecks here that might be running completely dry when a lot of people are going to do this with their Death Knights at the same time. So there's some very good materials here. Definitely Shadow Gem, Mossa Gate, even potentially some of the lower level ores you can prospect for these gems. Then you have Aquamarine's Flask of Mojo, Large Opal, Azerothian Diamond. Both of those come from thorium ore. And then in the category of items that you're not going to run the auction house dry, but these are going to be bought at a very high rate. Bronze bars definitely stood out to me, as do the thorium bars. So definitely a potential in pretty much most of the bars as well as most of the stones. Particularly heavy and solid for jewel crafting, but yeah, definitely a lot of opportunities here. Now, if we shift our focus to engineering, there's nothing quite at the level of the gems, but moss agates, once again, suggested by the guide. And you'd buy out half the auction house if you bought the 10 moss agates the guide suggests getting on Earthshaker. And then a couple of the bars to really stand out here. Engineering needs a lot more bars in general, and surprisingly less stone, but more bars. Thorium bars, that's almost a third of the auction house on Earthshaker that you'd need to buy out to get one engineer to 300. And then bronze bars and mithril bars are the volume materials where you're buying out a significant portion of the auction house if you want a power level to skill level 300. So there's a lot of materials to buy. To sum this up, the materials that stand out the most: Shadowed Gem, Moss Agate, Aquamarine, Flask of Mojo. Those are significant bottlenecks for jewel crafting. And to a certain degree engineering. And then you have bars, particularly bronze bars, thorium bars, mithril bars, and then for stones you have solid stone and heavy stone. Those are the top two, and those are the materials that I'd suggest stocking up on if you want to target this market. Now, an important question here is how much is too much? And this is going to depend on a couple of factors. Your realm size, how much gold you have available, and potentially how this looks on your realm. I'd suggest checking out the available quantity. You could do so at nexushub.co and just search for the items and see how many are available on your realm. But this is a risky play. There's no getting around. Investing for the future, always risky, which means that you cannot spend the gold that you're not 100% willing to lose. And you also have to be able to play and sell these items during the pre-patch. This is when we can expect to see a significant increase in prices. Personally, I'd limit myself to about 3 to 5 full shopping lists for a guide for either jewel crafting or engineering. But if you have the bank space and the gold and the risk-seeking attitude, then you can go higher. There's nothing stopping you at any specific level. There's definitely going to be more than 5 Death Knights leveled on most realms, and most of them are going to be looking at the same YouTube videos and reading the same suggestions, which seems to be jewel crafting, engineering as the top 2 choices, and then that's the case for a lot of people that will be releveling their professions as well. On top of that, you can also get some things ready for leveling Death Knights. Bags in particular, they do spawn with some bags, but I think that they might want to get the 18 slaughters potentially going into Wrath if it's going to be their new main, so they can cram as much stuff as possible into the bags in the early zones, which definitely makes a significant difference. Yeah, did I miss anything? Any specific Death Knight leveling tricks you know about that should be invested for? Let me know. Otherwise, I'll leave you with a list of top materials. Thank you for watching. We'll see you all next time.